If you only jumped into anime or manga recently because of Chainsaw Man, you might wonder what other titles are of interest. I have a list of recommendations cultivated with beginner manga readers and new anime watchers in mind, each series having a varied reason for appealing to fans of Chainsaw Man. Whether you like the grit of its battles or the soul-crushing story, there's something here for every fan. These are 10 series, either anime or manga, that you should try if you liked Chainsaw Man. If you like Chainsaw Man for any reason, you should read Fujimoto's other manga if you haven't already. Fire Punch was my introduction to his manga, and it's a beast of a story in its own way, if a bit difficult to digest. Look Back and Goodbye Eri are great one-volume stories as well. Although I suggest reading Fujimoto's other works, try not to get stuck in only reading his stories. There's tons of other manga and anime worth seeing. If you like Chainsaw Man for its bizarre combination of grit and endearing characters, Dorohedoro does it better than any other. It takes violence up a notch, yet it also has super fun and charming characters, just like Chainsaw Man. The overwhelming majority of Dorohedoro is packed full of creative ideas and exciting mystery while delivering on those appeals. It is so gosh darn fun. I mean, it's gritty, but not like Berserk or Seinen in that vein. Sure, it's grimy as all hell, but it has immensely lovable characters and a fun world to explore. I never felt any sort of negative emotion while reading it, only joy. It's the only manga that I've read that I can say is wholesome while being ultra violent. If you like Chainsaw Man for its representation of devils and the sheer force of its ultra violence, then you gotta read Devilman and watch Devilman Crybaby. The manga has retro cheese, and some of its artwork looks goofy by today's standards, but its violence is unbelievably brutal, even more so than Chainsaw Man. It's also important to manga history. Without it, there's no Chainsaw Man, Berserk, Evangelion, and the list goes on. It was the manga that laid the foundation for every ultra-violent manga going forward. Crybaby was made in 2018, nearly 5 decades later, so it doesn't have the historic status of the manga, nor does it capture everything that made the manga special, but it is a fantastic way to see the story with a more modern aesthetic. If you like Chainsaw Man for its fast-paced action and interpretation of modern battle shonen, but want a series that's a tad more traditional and not quite as intense, Jujutsu Kaisen is a perfect middle ground. This is probably the only series I'm recommending with roughly the same level of popularity as Chainsaw Man, but it really does warrant watching and reading if you liked those elements. It's a more mild, traditional take on battle shonen, but with a lot of the same flair for style. It's a lot of fun. And if you did fall off of the anime after season 1, I would suggest watching season 2 because it's about to adapt the most exciting arc in the manga. If you like Chainsaw Man for its battle of survival, Hell's Paradise is your next pick. It's a non-stop attack, a manga that is full of bloodshed, deadly battles, and pummeling violence. Yet it has so much tender emotion wrapped up into its otherwise hopeless story. Much like Chainsaw Man, this is what a battle shonen would look like if every encounter was a fight for survival, plenty of which are lost. But unlike it, Hell's Paradise is a more grounded, less immature battle shonen. It's on average more serious than Chainsaw Man. This is a manga absolutely worth reading, and the anime that's soon approaching will hopefully be a good choice too. If you like Chainsaw Man for its portrayal of adolescence, women, and romantic relationships, then you kind of have to watch FLCL. Fujimoto has said that he took inspiration from the series, especially from its female characters, and that truly went to inform Denji's story. These characters are multi-layered and their relationships are messy in ways that reflect every bit of Chainsaw Man's. It's a story about growing up, falling in love, being manipulated, and finding your own ground to stand on. Plus, it's beyond chaotic and unpredictable, more so than most any anime I could recommend to a Chainsaw Man fan, and the music rips. If you like Chainsaw Man for its deeply flawed and broken characters, then you have to see Neon Genesis Evangelion. Much like FLCL, Fujimoto has mentioned that Evangelion helped form his vision of anime and manga. It's slower and less frantic than Chainsaw Man, but it really digs into human relationships and the struggle to connect with others. It's a beautifully flawed story that puts an emphasis on the complicated relationships of its characters rather than making an entirely coherent narrative. If character exploration is your jam, then I would recommend Evangelion above almost anything else. If you like Chainsaw Man for its visual storytelling, there is no manga better than Blame. It is an exceptionally detailed manga, not in its minimal dialogue, but in how it communicates its story through endless landscapes and beautifully haunting scenery. It's gritty, it's dark, and it's an experience worth reading through. Only Chainsaw Man fans that want more of those quiet moments that Fujimoto is so good at drawing in its occasional moments of textless pages should read this manga. But man, there is nothing else quite like Blame. If you like Chainsaw Man for its depravity, the soul-crushing depression of some moments, especially in the later half of part 1, then A, maybe you have a problem, and B, you should try torturing yourself with Good Night Poon Poon. It is possibly the darkest manga I've ever read. Even the humor is self-deprecating and harsh. It hurts to read this manga. It can be eye-opening, and sometimes you'll want to keep your eyes closed. Poon Poon is a manga not for the faint of heart. Only the strongest of heart, people who won't spiral down into a bad mental breakdown, should read it. If you like Chainsaw Man for its incredibly out there, insane, bizarre, erotic, and violent story, then Gantz capitalizes on all of that. It's a story that's concerned with being as fun and energetic as possible. Many of its ideas are bonkers, and the progression of its story always has something unexpected to throw at you. Even when the turns in its story don't make sense, it's a roller coaster that you have to stay on to believe. So those are 10 series that you should check out if you do like Chainsaw Man. There are plenty of other manga and anime that are similar or share qualities with Chainsaw Man, but that's kind of the fun of getting into anime and manga. Exploring the mediums you love and finding new things that are exciting. I love Chainsaw Man and plenty of the other shonen that have gotten very popular in the last few years, but try not to limit yourself to just those manga. There's plenty of other manga and anime that are worth checking out for various reasons. Hopefully this works as a small push for somebody out there to check out something new.